Welcome to Draft Utopia. Chris Ransom here, and joining me is Ron Mont. Today we're going to preview the Pacific Division in the NHL and preview two divisions. We're going to preview the third of those four divisions, and I got to say, this USHL Fall Classic has been a blast. 3 days there, I saw all 32 NHL teams, and I've had a heck of a lot of fun breaking that down. And if you want to go and you're in the Pittsburgh area, you can buy one of these for $45. You can also get media passes or scout passes if you have actual hockey credentials as well. So, and I think it's going to be very interesting, Ron, as we begin to discuss the Pacific. But I want to start with the San Jose Sharks. They drafted Macklin Celebrini last year. They got Michael Misa this year. They are definitely heading in the right direction as far as organization goes.
What they've done over the last, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly.
Okay, cool. What they've done over the last couple of seasons as far as their drafting, Will Smith, Sam Dickinson, Macklin Celebrini, the group of folks that they were able to bring in this past draft as well, too. I mean, I think they have one of the most exciting young teams that's coming into the league. And with the amount of young talent that they've drafted over the last couple of seasons, I don't know how much more they're going to be an improvement on, but they're definitely going to be improved.
I think I'm looking at the daily face-off roster. Sam Dickinson not on San Jose yet. I think he will be on San Jose by the end of the year. I'm guessing he's either going to start nights because he's not listed on the Macklin Celebrini to Foley or the wingers next to Misa on line 2. Jose's top 6 is going to be very good this year. Is it going to be enough to get them out of last place? Probably not until Dickinson arrives, because the defense is still going to struggle.
Yeah. I mean, they added Nedeljkovic, they added Skinner and Klingberg. I mean, they did add some guys.
Yeah, I like
Nedeljkovic and Skinner and Klingberg, but I mean that's they're gonna have to start playing defense and have some goaltending, which they've addressed with those guys that they brought in. But I mean, they've drafted nothing but forwards.
That's the thing. They got Askarov in the trade with Nashville last year, and he's going to start at goalie this year. And they drafted Ravensburg, and so they've got the forwards. They've got the goalie who could be a stopgap, could be good. And they also got a goalie for insurance in case the goalie they traded for doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
So,
and I think
they've got the forwards and goaltending, but they don't have the defense.
Exactly. And Ravensburg is what, 2 years away at best?
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, but they're going to be better. They're going to be better.
They are going to be better. I think they'll improve their point.
Yeah.
They've got a shot at 25 wins this year, maybe 30 next year.
Yeah, there you go.
They got to fix the defense first. And the good news for the Sharks is each of the next 4 NHL drafts has a really good defenseman in it. That's the good news for the Sharks. So they just have to take their time with this rebuild and accumulate as much draft capital as they can get as possible while Misa and Celebrini develop before they enter their prime. That's really all they got to do. While they might be a playoff team by 2028, but right now you just want to position yourself to where you're the team to beat in the Pacific by the 2030s. That's really all you got to do right now if you're Mike Greer. But yeah, San Jose, I have them in 8th place.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to improve their points totals, you know what I mean? But I don't see them getting out of the last place either.
Yeah, I'm looking to see who I have finishing 7th. Finishing 7th, I have Anaheim. And the reason I have Anaheim if Anaheim had kept John Gibson, I probably would. This was tough between Anaheim and Calgary. This was tough because I think both Anaheim and Calgary have the ability to beat playoff teams, but Western Conference, it's very tight, it's very tough, it's very competitive, and I like Lucas Doss style, but it's still going to be a transition for him with Gibson leaving, and that's why I've got the Ducks in 7.
Okay. They had 80 points last year.
They got hot near the end.
They had 80 points. Right. And now they got a whole new guy behind the bench now with Quenneville and with another group of other coaches that he's bringing in as well. You know what I mean?
I agree.
They drafted really, really well this year, and they have over the last few seasons. They made a trade with Philadelphia to get rid of Zegras, and they brought in Ryan Poling from Philadelphia. But that just opens the door for Cutter Gauthier to be that much more of a presence on the Ducks. And then with them drafting Roger McQueen 10th overall, I mean, is he going to make the team? Could he make the team? I mean, he's got the size and everything else. And he might be that wild card player that might make the team. Otherwise, he's going to be playing in juniors. But I do see the new coaching bump. But, you know, they did get 80 points last year. They're going to probably be a little better. But, yeah, I'm with you on that. I see them down there at the bottom with San Jose.
And a lot of their guys are stopgaps too. That's the other thing. Like
exactly with who they brought in and everything.
Leox and Gauthier are long-term pieces, but Gronlund is a stopgap. Strome, they haven't. Mason McTavish is still an RFA as training camp arrives, and you haven't resolved that situation yet, which is another element I'm concerned about. Kreider is a good veteran addition through free agency. I like Troy Terry and Killorn in the top 2 lines at right winger. Vetrano's decent on the back 6, but I mean, I feel like there's guys they could add to make this team better. And Radko Gudas, Zellweger, Pavel Mintyukov, and Jacob Traubard line. And I like Mintyukov. I'm not sure how Jackson Lacoman will help.
Right, and adding Trouba at the end there too, that's going to help as well too. But they just don't have enough pieces. Yeah, but I just don't think they have enough pieces yet. I think they've drafted some of their pieces, you know what I mean, but they're not ready yet.
I'll look at the Ducks draft really quickly before we get to Calgary. And it's not that the Ducks can't. Just they have an uphill battle. They don't have enough pieces yet. This projects more as a contender by 2028.
Right. I mean,
drafted
they had
well in 2025.
They did pretty good in 2024 with Stain Solberg and Beckett Senek. I think they did really well there for that. Both of those guys should be making their marks relatively sooner rather than later. But like I said, I think they've drafted well and they have pieces. Those pieces just aren't ready yet.
Yeah, and they've drafted 2021 to 2025, at least in the first few rounds.
Exactly.
2020 is a different story, but 2021 to 2025, it feels like they've drafted well, at least in the first 2 rounds. I'll give them that. And on that note, I'm going to get to Calgary. I've got Calgary at 6.
Wow, so that means you're really vaulting the Seattle Kraken a little higher than I think I would be putting them.
I think the Kraken are in my top 4, but I'll reveal why later. I'm
okay.
Guessing the Kraken are at 6 for you. The Flames, I feel like 4 through 6, I do have. I've got in 4 through 6. I got Calgary at 6. Calgary could move into the top 4 or 5 as a wild card. I think it's contingent on Pareka getting minutes. And Pareka played on the top line in the final regular season game for Calgary. They won that game 2-0, and they're going to play him on the third line to start this season. But I'm guessing what will happen is Pareka will play on the third line for now, and then when Calgary moves Rasmus Andersson, they'll move Pareka up to the top line after that happens. That's what I'm guessing is going to happen because they want to ease him in before giving him all those minutes. That's probably why.
Yeah. All right. I have.
And Anderson's in a contract year.
Yeah, I have Calgary.
And I love what Dustin Wolf did.
I actually have Calgary going higher than this in my take, if I would be throwing it out there. But as far as the Flames are concerned, look, this is going to be a rookie season for Wolf, who was in contention for the Calder Trophy as Rookie of the Year. I mean, how can you blame him? With Mackenzie Weegar and Blake Coleman, can they be there? This team is hungry to make the playoffs, as far as I'm concerned, and I think I have Seattle finishing lower than Calgary as far as I'm concerned. But okay, I mean, I'm gonna be with you on that as far as between 4, 5, and 4, 5, and 6. Those 3 teams there, they all potentially could either be on the bubble or be the wild card, or you know what I mean. So
yeah.
All right, but I do kind of like what Calgary's doing, and I like where they're headed, and I like how they have tried to add some pieces as far as keeping it rolling. Look, you can't deny the fact that Wolf has been an amazing goaltender for them, and I just can't wait to see what he's going to do for his second season.
Yeah, because I feel like the floor for Calgary is they're probably 6th in this division. The ceiling, if they get in as a wild card, that last team I want to face if I'm the Edmonton Oilers, because those and Calgary could do the Dallas Stars and a lot of teams in the Central Division a huge favor if they were to meet up against Edmonton in round 1. And I don't say that lightly because Edmonton kind of reminds me of Calgary in 2019, and Calgary kind of reminds me of Colorado in 2019 when Makar was in his rookie season, except they've got the second year goalie, and they've got the rookie defenseman, Zach Recca, who's got similar point totals to Makar at the OHL level, NHL level now, but we'll see.
Right. Okay, I mean,
if Pareka makes a serious push for Calder finalist, I think the Flames are a playoff team. And if he doesn't, this team's probably 6th in the division and maybe 5th if they finish ahead of Seattle. But they're still on the outside looking in. That's the verdict I've got for them.
Okay.
I think it comes down to how far Pareka and Wolf take this team. That's really where I'm at with Calgary.
All day long. I agree with that 100%. And that's why I'm kind of a little bit on the bubble with Calgary between them and Seattle. You know what I mean? That's why I feel that I think they might finish higher than Seattle.
Yeah, I am way too low on this next team. This is probably the team that I'm probably going to get criticized for my take more than anything else. And surprise, surprise, from 1st place to 5th place, I've got Vegas at 5. I've got Seattle at 4, but I have Seattle missing the playoffs, so I'm not completely insane, but I still feel somewhat as I love the Golden offense. Offense is very good. I don't know who that number 1 defenseman is going to be with Alex Pietrangelo having a career-ending injury. Is it going to be Theodore? Is it going to be McNabb? Is it going to be Hannafin? I've always felt like Hannafin's a very good line 2 guy. He showed he could be a number 2 on a first line last year. Shea Theodore, also a guy who could be a good number 2 on a top line, but I've never really viewed Theodore as a number one, but if they can find a number one defenseman, they will be back in the playoffs. But even if they get to the playoffs, I feel like Vegas is an early round exit team until they find a player that can replace Alex Pietrangelo. It's just, but I could be wrong on this. If Vegas is number one in power play and they're number one in hits like Winnipeg, they could very easily win the President's Trophy. So this is a take that could age very horribly for me. I'm acknowledging that right now.
Okay, because I mean
Marner
they did
and
have
Eichel
100.
are both capable of 100-point seasons. We both know this, Ron.
You okay?
Even
So,
without Pietrangelo, both Marner and Eichel are capable of getting 100 points on that top line. And if Vegas wants to win this division again, it just feels like Eichel and Marner are going to have to, and Stone are going to have to carry them to the finish line. And the goaltending is going to have to be stout enough for them to win close games, whether it's a 3-2 or a 4-3.
There you said it. Right, you said it for me right there. You know what I mean? They still need to sign Eichel. Okay.
That's true.
So that's a big giant question mark as far as I'm concerned. But they pulled off the trade of the century as well with the Mitch Marner. I mean, you basically just cemented Vegas for being relevant for at least the next foreseeable couple of years, and especially if you're able to add Jack Eichel to that list as well too. Now, Pietrangelo and Waugh and Haig all left the team, so you're right. They need to find that number one defenseman again, and then they can continue on.
It's
They need
very
that
hard to
goaltending to
find a
be
number
stout.
one defenseman unless you get a first round pick in the
Right.
NHL draft, or unless you
Right.
get a guy through a trade. And I don't think Calgary's willing to deal Rasmus Anderson to Vegas unless they part with that 2027 first round pick, since Calgary owns Vegas's 2026 first round pick as well.
See, there you go. And that's going to be the key right there. But like you said, if Vegas is going to be able to have somebody step up to be their number one defenseman, then I don't see them missing too much. They may not finish first in the Pacific, but I wouldn't be writing them off just yet, even remotely. I mean, the fact that we're talking about all these teams before we're even talking about Seattle is blowing me away here, Chris. So you must know something that I
think
don't.
Seattle's a pretty complete team on paper, but Seattle, they haven't been able to turnovers. The big reason why I had Seattle missing the playoffs. I think they have the talent to be a playoff team once again, but they've had so much coaching turnover that's kind of affected their bottom line. I mean, their forwards: Vegas, Barbashev, Eichel, Marner, Riley Smith, Carlson, Stone, Brandon Saad, Hurdle, Dorofeev. Outside of Dorofeev, who they got in the third round of the 2019 draft, Vegas really doesn't have any young talent they've developed through the draft outside of Dorofeev. The other guys that they've had, they've traded away, or they're in the AHL team on the Henderson Silver Knights.
Right. I mean, they did draft pretty well this past draft. You know what I mean? But those
I like
guys
what
are
they
2
did in
years
both
away.
the last two drafts, because they got that guy from Tri-City Storm in the first round of last year's draft. He actually did get some experience on the Henderson Silver Knights. Trevor Connolly it is. He got some experience at the end of the year. And they did do a pretty good job in 2025 as well, Ron, like you stated. So we do have some guys in their system, but they're getting to that point where if they don't start taking the prospect pool a little bit more seriously and getting some younger guys, they're going to become like the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2 to 5 years, where they've got prime Jack Eichel, they've got prime Marner. The Penguins have prime Crosby, got some other complementary players, prime Malkin, but Malkin's not the player he was 5-10 years ago. So that's the thing. A lot of the guys that they have are on the wrong side of their 30s.
So okay, so
that would be my argument for Vegas missing the playoffs, but they're not out of it. The fact that I have them fifth in the Pacific means if 5 teams from the Pacific get in, they're a wild card too at the very worst. And if they're a wild card too, they're a very dangerous wild card too.
Okay.
So that's the thing.
Okay. All right. So then I can't even begin to. So I'm taking it. You got Seattle at 4.
I've got Seattle at 4, and honestly, I love Vegas's forwards and goaltending, but not having that number 1 defenseman, I don't know how that's going to affect them. Vegas could be 5th in this division. They could win the division, but end up losing the playoffs. I don't know how it's going to play out. But historically speaking, a lot of Stanley Cup champions have had that number 1 defenseman. For me, that's a deal breaker with Vegas. But ooh, this is interesting. This is very interesting with the Kraken because Berkeley Catan is projected to play in the top 6 this year. Chandler Stevenson's going to move down to the 3rd line, and Shane Wright's going to move down to the 4th line. That's a very interesting line combination via daily.
Okay.
Berkeley Catan is going to be on the 2nd line behind Beniers.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Where do they got him? Yeah, okay. Man.
Berkeley Catan on line 2 behind Beniers, ahead of Stevenson, ahead of Shane Wright. If that's the case, and Frederick Gaudreau's going to play right winger on the 4th line behind Eli Tolvanen, Eberle, and Capo Caco. So they're 4 deep at center and right winger. Yanni Nyman's projected to play on the top line. Jared McCann's projected. Jason Marchment, the 3rd, Schwartz the 4th. I think if they moved Nyman down to the 4th line and they moved McCann or Schwartz up to the top line, they'd be a lot better. But overall, that's a very good group of forwards, and Berkeley Catan could be a dark horse to win the Calder if he's legitimately playing. Just like Zane Pareka at Calgary, Berkeley Catan could be a dark horse to win that award since he took Spokane all the way to the WHL championship. Last year on after getting drafted by the Kraken. Might only be up on a trial basis.
Yeah, okay. Because he's so
interesting thing.
That the CBA doesn't take an effect until right, but okay, I see what you're saying now. Yeah, he's on the 9-game. He might be on the 9-game trial. Okay, because the CBA for allowing a youngster at the AHL level takes effect next year. But if they keep him up for those 9 games and see how he does, you know what I mean? And if he's able to continue
on the 9-game trial too. Zane Parek could also be on that 9-game trial as well. But
yeah. I still think that Seattle finishing 4th is really lofty in this division. But hey, you picked Vegas to be 5th, though, so hey. All right, here we go. Onward and upward.
Easy. Larson's the number 1 defenseman. Vince Dunn's good on the top line. Montour and Oleksiak. Lindgren and Evans, they could upgrade the 3rd line defense, but it's not like a deal breaker for me. And Joey Decord took the starting goalie job from Grubauer. So if Seattle finishes less than 4th, it's either going to be due to the new coaching staff or it's going to be due to the goaltending, or it's going to be due to the bottom tier defense struggling.
Yeah, all right.
It's going to be one of those 3 things that keeps the Kraken from reaching their potential. Because I think their potential is 4th in this division, but I don't think they have enough pieces to make the playoffs yet either, Ron. I don't think they're a bottom 10 team, but I think they're somewhere in the 11 to 16. For the drafts range, I think they're somewhere between 11 and 16. But I don't think they have enough pieces to be a playoff team. And that's probably the middle ground where we agree on, even though you disagree with me on the Kraken being 4th in the division. The middle ground where we probably agree is they have too much talent to be in the bottom 10. They're probably somewhere in 11 to 16 if we're just looking at draft position.
See, exactly. But with those question marks at goal and some of those question marks that they still have with this team and them still finishing, relatively at the bottom of the division last year, now they've got new coach again, all new system, all new everything else. That's kind of why I'm a little bit more hesitant to rate them higher in the division than what they were from last year. I do think they're going to be an improved team. I think they're going to, as far as I'm concerned, I would put them as the better of the bottoms, right? So like you're going to see the San Jose's and the Anaheims and some of those teams down there at the bottom. I think Seattle's going to be the team that's better than those, right? But
Yeah.
I'm just not seeing them past the Vegases, or they might be more in contention with the Calgary Flames. I see that more of the middle ground as far as where I'm concerned, where the Seattle Kraken is. But I'm seeing where you're going with it, but we might not agree
They've
about it,
got
but I
the
see where you're
talent to
going
be
with it.
fourth. They've got the talent to be fourth in the division. The problem is there's
I agree.
just been
No,
so
I
much
agree.
turnover in the front office. There's
Yeah,
so
no,
from
I
a
agree.
coaching standpoint, their GM Ron Francis promoted himself to team president. So now the assistant GM has all the responsibilities
Yeah.
of keeping that team together and recruiting new talent. So is the front office going to get complete objection I had against the Kraken making the playoffs in general? Even though they have the talent to maybe sneak in as a wild card, is the front office going to be complacent? The goaltending, third line defense, there's a few questions, maybe some bottom pairing wingers.
Yeah.
There's a few areas they could improve in. I don't think they're liabilities, Ron, but at the same token, I do think there's a few areas they could improve in.
Agreed. 100%. Agreed 100%. I can't wait to hear who you got next, man. This ought to be fun.
Did I have the LA Kings or Vancouver at third? I guess I'm higher on Vancouver than the public for one reason. They hired Adam Foote as their coach, and I know I know their former head coach's on the Flyers now. He said the culture in Vancouver was toxic, and if that's the case, that's a fair reason for that's a very fair reason for putting. That's a very fair reason for putting Vancouver outside of the playoffs. I have Vancouver at third, though, and I just love their outlook. I love the Vancouver Canucks outlook. I'm just trying to get. This is not loading.
I mean, they added Evander Kane as their free agent for the team.
That was a trade before the draft. They traded
Right.
a fourth one to get him, but yeah.
They brought in Adam Foote as a new coach, and it's another former player. Okay, and this is why I'm a little bit suspect of the Vancouver Canucks, because this was a team that they brought in Bruce Boudreau to coach the team, to turn the team around, and he was there for half of a season and then half of another season, and then he was fired, and then they brought in Rick Tocchet. And then Rick Tocchet kind of did the same thing. He was there and did really well with the team, won a Jack Adams Award, and then the following year he gets 90 points and he's fifth in the division, and he gets fired. Well, you don't go from Jack Adams Award winning coach to down here because you did a bad job. I mean, you get what I'm saying?
I don't.
But they mutually agreed to part ways. Yeah, they mutually agreed to part ways. But the fact that he wanted to leave there, I mean, after winning the Jack Adams Award the year prior, okay, and when a player coach comes out and says that about the culture, and look, coaches are, most coaches are tight-lipped about things, especially where they've been, and other teams that they've coached and everything else like that. But man, I think that speaks volumes when somebody like that comes out and says something like that. So, will Adam Foote be able to wrangle this team? So that's going to be the key factor. I don't think it's going to happen in year one. And I have them finishing way lower than third.
I think Patrick Foote is going to have maybe he was an assistant head coach to Rick Tocchet. I think he's going to have a greater impact on the team than Tocchet did. It's hard to believe that, but one thing I'll give Vancouver credit for is GM Patrick Alvin kept a lot of core players because when I looked at their free agency at the beginning of the summer, I was thinking Brock Boser, he's gone. Connor Garland, he's gone. And this team's going to have a lot of turnover like Calgary did a few years ago, Ron. But that did not happen. Not only did they keep Boser, they kept Garland. Lekkerimaki's in the top 9 now at right winger. So Elias Peterson's got competent wingers with him for the first time in his career. And even that second-line center, even though Philippe Cheidel, Teddy Bluger, Ratti, none of those guys are like top 6 guys, they have wingers that can make them look like top 6 guys, which is not something I felt like Vancouver had last year. And I like Hoglander on the third line. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with Vancouver. But I do like their core overall. If they stay healthy, they have Hronik and Hughes is a very good first lineman, whether it be Elias Nils Peterson, Derek Forbort, Marcus Peterson, Tyler Myers. That's a big question mark here with the Canucks, is the defenders outside of the top line pairing in Hughes and Hronik, because I think those guys are capable of performing at a high level. And I think Adam Foote will get the most out of those guys. I think we'll see an uptick in the blue line's performance this season. But is it going to be enough for them to win a playoff series? Probably not. I think they have enough talent to get back to the playoffs. Okay. I have them finishing third in this division. They are my 3 seed. They got Demko as their starting goalie, and Kevin Lankinen is the backup now. So I'm not sure how Lankinen's going to perform. I feel like they could upgrade at backup goalie. But they did re-sign Demko, who was in a contract year. They brought back Boser. They brought back Garland. I thought this team was going to have a lot more turnover and head down a similar path as Calgary did when they lost all their core players to free agency. That's not the case. Vancouver actually retained some talent, which I'll give them credit for, because that's gonna keep them from going entirely, Ron. Even if they fall short of the playoffs this year, they retain that talent to keep them from entering the bottom 10. So they're at least gonna have a shot.
No, I agree. I agree 100%.
And maybe
100%.
Maybe they're a wild card, the top 3 team in the division, but I feel like they have, if they're healthy, they have too many pieces to miss the playoffs. If they have injuries like they did last year, where you've got Demko missing 3 months, yeah, they're going to be in the They're going to be in the 11 to 16 range versus the playoffs.
That's where I kind of thought. That's what I kind of thought hindered them a little bit last year as well, too, with the injuries, especially to your number 1 goaltender like that. And when you lose your number 1 guy like that, that's a little bit tough to kind of, you know what I mean? So, okay, but I don't know, man. I think Vancouver's probably going to be fighting it out as far as the way I see Vancouver. I don't see them finishing nearly that high. I have them kind of more closer to where they were last year. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at what happened last year, the top 3 teams all had over 100 points. Okay? So I have a feeling that that's what's going to be the case this year as well. And that when you're not quite able to score 90 points, and you know they were 38 and 30 with 14 overtimes, that you need to put some more W's on the column as far as I'm concerned. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it. I agree they're going to play a little different, and they're going to and Adam Foote is going to be able to get out of those players, but I just don't know if it's going to be enough, and I don't see them even finishing as high as 3rd.
I'm guessing they are 4th or 5th in your division.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get to the LA Kings next, and LA Kings are. This is going to be Kopitar Swan, the Anze Kopitar Swan song.
Yep.
This is going to be his last season. Kempe, Andrei Kuzmenko are on the top line. Kevin Fiala, Alex Lafreniere, Byfield. Warren Fogle, they bring him in from Edmonton. He's going to play on the 3rd line. And then they've got Trevor Moore. Joel Ariama, another addition, complements Turcotte on the 4th line. And then Drew Doughty. Drew Doughty missed the first half of last year's. And Mikey Anderson going to be on the top line. Brant Clark, he got a lot of top line experience behind when Doughty was injured last year. He's your number 3 defenseman now. And Dumoulin, I like that pairing. And they brought in Cody Ceci from Dallas and Joel Edmondson.
Right. And Anton Forsberg. Yeah. I'm with you on that. I like the addition of Ceci. Yeah.
They got Corey Perry, too, from Edmonton. He's listed on the injured report, but they got Darcy Kumper and Anton Forsberg as the backup. So I do think the LA Kings, this is a sneaky good team. And honestly, if Edmonton slips up against either Vegas or a Calgary, I think the only teams in the Pacific that could beat Edmonton in the 7-game series are probably Vegas or Calgary, maybe, because Calgary just hates Edmonton that much. I wouldn't bet against them.
I mean, the Battle of Alberta, the Battle of Alberta is pretty heated rivalry. You know what I mean? And that if that ends up being a playoff series, hey, I'm signing up for that. I'm watching every one of those games because that's going to be an awesome series. As far as the Kings go, man, they had a great regular season last year, getting 105 points, second in the division. But man, they hit the wall in the playoffs. So they have Ken Holland, who is the
scenario. They avoid playing Edmonton in the first round. They get Vancouver.
Okay, right.
If they get Vancouver with home ice, they win that series. And
I'm with you. They have Ken Holland, who built Edmonton, is now the guy down there in LA, and he kept Jim Hiller as their bench boss for the upcoming season. So I really like the Kings here. I'm with you on where they're finishing as far as second. I don't have a problem with that at all. That's probably close to where I had them finishing in this division. I like where they're going. I like the fact that they've drafted really well when they've been able to draft well. They've got some good talent coming up. They've been able to make some key moves to keep the team relevant. And look, this team was not even in contention a few years ago, and here they are. Now we're talking about them finishing second in the division. So I'm liking where the LA Kings are going. I think they're going to be a really tough team to play against. And I also agree with you. I think if they give them the right moment, they could take out Edmonton or Vancouver or Calgary or Vegas or whoever wants to be the top team in the division. I think they could be in contention for that.
Yeah, I mean, if they finish second in the division, they draw Vancouver in the first round. They should get to the second round, and if they avoid Edmonton and somebody knocks out Edmonton, or they avoid Vegas, they are a sneaky dark horse to get to the conference finals. But I think that would be their ceiling.
I agree.
I don't see them beating Dallas or Colorado.
Yeah, no, I agree. And what's really amazing is that I think this team is better than their cup-winning team. The only difference is quick.
Yeah.
Right. Which, okay, that's a big, huge, major difference, right? Because he's goaltending, but I think as far as the talent that this team has assembled in the last few years is a better team than what they won the cup with, aside from goaltending.
Yes. And finally, the favorite to win this division. Covers updated their point spread, their Stanley Cup odds a few weeks ago. Florida's plus 650, Edmonton's plus 850, Dallas is plus 900.
Wow.
And then the rest of the teams are plus 950. Carolina, Colorado are both plus 950.
Really?
So,
all right.
Yeah. But Edmonton, I don't know how I feel about Edmonton, because when I went into the offseason, I looked at their line combinations. I looked at their roster after free agency. I said, this is still the team to beat by a margin. But, that was because back in June, July, everyone was projecting Savoy to be on the top 6. That's no longer the case. Zach Hyman's still on IR. Nugent Hopkins has moved down from left winger to center. And I don't agree with Daily Faceoff on this, by the way. I'm just reading their line combinations off screen. I don't agree with this. I think Nugent and McDavid are going to play on the top line. I don't agree with this assessment here, but they have Nugent, Hopkins, Draisaitl, McDavid all listed as centers, and they've got David Tomasek and Andrew Magniapane on the top line, Podkolzin and Kapanen on the second line until Hyman returns, and then they've got Adam Henrique at left winger and Savoy at right winger on the third line, and then Janmark, Isaac Howard, and Frederick are on the fourth line. Now, if this is the lineup they roll, I am a lot less worried about Edmonton, Ron, because I think in order for them to beat a team like a Dallas, they need Nugent and Hyman both on the top line with McDavid if they're going to win the conference again. If they roll this line, they are a lot more suspect to getting beat if the goaltending disappears in the playoffs.
I'm not worried about Edmonton's offense. I'm really not.
Even missing, take off any time.
Even missing Hyman for however long they're going to be missing him for, right? Even missing him, I am not worried about their offense. I have actually never been worried about the Edmonton Oilers offense because it's always there with a caveat. Let me say the caveat. This team needs to wrangle their emotions a little better. Okay? 2 years in a row, we watched the Florida Panthers utterly dismantle the Edmonton Oilers by them getting under their skin and taking such dumb penalties for no reason at all. You need to wrap your head around that first. Okay? Secondly, the big elephant in the room. Are you going to sign McDavid? Is he going to come back? If he is going to come back, how long is he going to come back for? I don't even think he's going to come back to Edmonton because of what's going on. And the fact that they still don't have defense. I mean, you look at their top pairings.
Defense was much weaker than last year, a year ago. And now they've got Ty Emberson and Brett Kulak on the third line. Wallman, because remember they lost Cody Ceci and they traded away Broberg to the Blues.
Right.
So I thought that really crippled their defense, made their defense a lot weaker. And they didn't have Ekholm for most of the playoffs last year, but they got him back for the Stanley Cup. But Bouchard and Ekholm are good. Wallman and Nurse are good. The top four is good, but the top six is not what it was 2 years ago when they won the Cup in 7 games. That's the problem.
So, like I said, I'm worried about discipline with this team. I'm worried about is McDavid coming back, and I'm also worried to see if their goaltending is going to hold out. Okay, now surprisingly, they did pretty decently last year and the year before. They made it to the Cup Finals twice, but it's always been their Achilles heel as far as I'm concerned, is their goaltending and their defense. They have improved their defense to some aspects, and they have improved their goaltending, but it's clearly not enough yet because they haven't won the Cup.
I agree. And Edmonton, when I did my rankings at the beginning of the year, I did pick, when I did my first 2026 mock, which is how I project these teams in season previews, I had Edmonton beating Dallas in the conference finals, but if Hyman and Nugent Hopkins aren't on the top line with McDavid and Savoy's not on the top six with Podkolzin and Draisaitl, I think Dallas can win that series, especially if Golitzin asserts the Stars as the aggressor.
Okay, see, that's a good caveat there, Chris, because I agree with that 100%. If Dallas is the aggressor, okay, I do agree. I think they can potentially take Edmonton.
But they've got to be the aggressor. They have to go in with a kill or be killed mentality. That's the problem with the Stars the last 2 years.
Yes.
They relied on their talent to get them far, and it has gotten them far, but they don't go into those finals series with the kill or be killed mentality. They just think, oh, we can do what we did in the first 2 rounds. We don't have to make any tweaks or adjustments, and it'll be enough to get us to the cup because we got the best team on paper, and that wasn't the case the last 3 seasons, I might add.
Okay.
Well, to be fair, Vegas and Dallas both had pretty complete teams in 2023, but Vegas had home ice, and they just were better in May when Dallas won the regular season series. So really, that's all there is to that.
I'm with you. I still maybe see 3 teams potentially coming.
Yeah, because we're at the point we both have Edmonton winning. Do you have Edmonton or Vegas winning this division? Just curious, and then we'll get to our Western Conference winner, and then
if they sign McDavid, then I have Edmonton winning this division, and then I have Kings and Knights. So that's who it's Vegas, Kings, and Knights, or Vegas, Kings and Oilers. But I have Edmonton as winning the division.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm wondering what McDavid. I don't think McDavid's going to sign an 8-year contract. I'm wondering I think he's going to get $20 million, but is he going to do a 4-year deal or is he going to do a 2-year deal? That's what I'm leaning towards more. I'm leaning towards him probably doing a 2-year deal versus a 4-year deal. I think McDavid would prefer to do a 4-year deal, but I also think Edmonton doesn't want to pay McDavid $20 million a year unless he agrees to a minimum of 4 years. So I think that's the biggest reason they're still in a stalemate, because I don't think McDavid's willing to come back to Edmonton unless he gets 20 years, $2 million. 2 years, $20 million a year.
Okay, I see what you're saying now.
And
so
Edmonton probably is willing to pay him that, but they want 4 years. They prefer 8, but they know they're not going to get 8. So
yeah, not with the way things have gone. Not with the way things have gone in Edmonton over the last 2 or 3 seasons, where they missed the Stanley Cup the year before, then they made it to the Stanley Cup and lost, and then they made it again to the Stanley Cup and lost. Look, it's hard to get to the Stanley Cup, period. And the fact that we're even talking about them still potentially winning the Pacific for the what? I mean, now they didn't win it last year. They were 3rd. Okay, but to be considered and be a contender, you know what I mean? To have those lofty expectations, you have to have a pretty decent team. And with McDavid on the team, they are. Without McDavid, the Edmonton Oilers are fighting down there with the Sharks and the Ducks.
I agree. And I'm looking at Edmonton, and I think right now I did pick Edmonton over Dallas at the beginning of the year. I'm still going to go with that, but I'm not as confident as I was on that projection. Because I'm looking at the lines, and if Boy's not on the top 6, I like Kasperi Kapanen. I don't think he's a top 6 guy. I don't think David Tomasek's a top 6 guy either. So who are they going to play at right wing on the second line if the first line's Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, Hyman?
Yeah.
Who are they going to play next to Podkolzin and Draisaitl? That's really my big issue, and Joey's here. But yeah, like my big issue with Edmonton is who are they going to play at right wing on the second line? If Podkolzin and Draisaitl are on the second line, who replaces Evander Kane? I like Tomasek, I like Kapanen, but those are bottom 6 role players. I think Savoy gives Edmonton the best shot at winning the Western Conference again, but I've got Edmonton over Dallas for a second year in a row, and I had Dallas over Edmonton in 23-24 when the Oilers won the conference for the first time. So I do think, as far as Western Conference prediction goes, I'm going Edmonton over Dallas. But to be honest, Ron, I feel less confident about Edmonton because they lost to Kane. I don't think Kapanen or Tomasek is a viable replacement to Evander Kane. I think Savoy gives them the best chance. But if Savoy's on the third line and the fourth line once Zach Hyman comes back from an injury, then where does that leave Edmonton as far as because Edmonton lost their skating coach to Dallas. They lost their power play coach Glenn Gullet's into Dallas. He's talked about how Dallas needs to hit more, be more physical. And like we discussed earlier before Joey got here, Ron, if Dallas asserts themselves as the aggressor versus Edmonton, they can win the series. But I think it's going to come down to who gets home ice, because I think even if Dallas asserts themselves as the aggressor, they're going to need home ice to beat Edmonton.
I agree. But I think they can do it.
I do too.
I think they can do it. But with those caveats,
So,
you know what I mean? With them being the aggressor, them having home ice.
So who do you have as your Western Conference champion? I'm going Edmonton over Dallas, but I feel a lot less confident about that than I did in June when I first began running these projections.
Yeah, I like Dallas. I have been riding Dallas for the last 4 years. Okay. And I'm going to keep riding that horse until it bucks me off. All right. So I'm going Dallas. I'm taking Dallas.
I'm happy about that. I'm very happy about that because I've been waiting for Dallas to break through as well.
Yep.
And honestly, if McDavid leaves Edmonton and Bobrovsky leaves Florida, I don't think there's a team in the NHL that can keep the Dallas Stars from winning the 2027 Stanley Cup. I know Harley and Robertson are RFAs, but Stars have about $27 million. I think that's barely enough to pay both guys,
Right.
and I think they can get Jamie Benn, Maverick Bourque, and Nils Lundqvist back for $1 million each and run it back next year. So that's why I think that's why when I did my 2027 NHL mock, I had the Dallas Stars beating the Red Wings, an old Western Conference rivalry from back in the day. That was my 27 Cup matchup, with Detroit getting in as a wild card like Florida did a few years ago.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, Florida's still the team to beat. So until you knock the big boys off.
Yeah, I agree. Florida's still the team to beat this year, but we'll save the Atlantic Division for next week. But Joey, I'm just curious, between Dallas and Edmonton, who would you pick as your Western Conference champion? Or do you think there's another team that we're overlooking, whether it's a Colorado or Vegas after they got Marner? I'm just kind of curious because it's close, though. It's closer to a 1A, 1B situation with Dallas and Edmonton.
And Vegas
could be that outright.
Vegas could be that sneaky one.
In 23-24, I said it was going to be Dallas outright over Edmonton. And last year, I said it was going to be Edmonton over Dallas outright. So this year, though, feels closer to a 1A, 1B situation, though, Ron, than one team winning that series outright.
I agree. So.
All right. You got Dallas over Edmonton, Ron?
I'll go Dallas. Like, it's about damn time that Dallas dominates. Like, they should have been dominating for years. So I'm going Dallas.
I hope you guys are right, and let's see what happens. But next week, it'll be the Atlantic Division, and I know Ron's got some other business to attend to. We appreciate him coming on and breaking down the Western Conference.
Yeah, love it. Anytime I get a chance.
Final division will be next week, Atlantic, and we'll reveal our cup winners. I think you guys all know what direction we're going. I'm not gonna spoil it.
It ain't like it's rocket science here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me on, Chris. I really appreciate this. By the way, you guys got to get on over to Draft Utopia. Get subbed up for that. Get all your notifications signed up, ready to go, so that when these great live shows come out, you get notification for them. Make sure you go on to X and get signed up and subscribe to Draft Utopia over there as well, too. Thank you very much for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on,
You got it, sir. We'll talk to you folks later. Have a good one.
That was Ron Mont of RNJ Media. Check them out. They're going to have some great interviews coming up on Prospect Watch and some other fun content in the coming weeks. I know two of the people on his hockey show Prospect Watch were at the USHL Fall Classic. I was there as well. I was texting Joey some updates. I found a gem at goalie with a 6th round grade, 29 for 29, got a shutout, and stopped a penalty shot. So I usually don't find those gems until later in the year because I'm so locked in on scouting football players and scouting players for the MLS draft. So I usually don't find a gem this early in the draft cycle. So that's cool. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up on Restream for the Pacific Division, and the next show will be the quarterback rankings. I got to let William know that we're ready for that. So I'm going to text him that, and then we'll go live, break down 20 quarterbacks. This is the first show in 10 years where Joey and I are breaking down 20 quarterbacks in one show. The last time we broke down that many quarterbacks, it was 2016. That was the Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz, Paxton Lynch draft. And no, we're not